Hi, I would just like to say welcome to Pre-AP Chemistry. We're going to be going over just the basic syllabus. Anytime we like to start with just a quote. It says, this is by Richard Feynman, we are at the very beginning of time for the human race. It is not unreasonable that we grapple with problems, but there are tens of thousands of years in the future. Our responsibility is do what we can, learn what we can, improve the solutions, and pass them on. And so we're just going to be going over the basic structure of pre-AP chemistry. Starting off, just like to introduce, my name's Brian Moss. I'm one of the pre-AP chemistry teachers. You can always contact me at brian.moss@rockwellisd.org. And then the other pre-AP chemistry teacher here at Heath is Nikki Burt, and you can, the reason why I put her on here is anytime that I can't be reached for tutoring help or anything like that, you can always contact Miss Burt and she can help you because her class is going to be very similar to mine. So you can always contact her and get some help from her. Now, what we're going to be doing in chemistry is basically just a study of matter and how it changes. And so basically the whole class is going to be about matter. Topics that we're going to be covering, just the atomic model, chemical reaction, thermodynamics, gas laws, and solutions. And you've had a little bit of experience of this in the past in 8th grade science, but we're going to be going over it in much, much greater detail. Our class and the way we like to structure it is an active learner-centered instruction. And what this looks like is the majority of your classes you've probably run into is that you'll sit in class and you'll have a lecture and you'll go over definitions, and then you get to the test and what happens is you're like, this looks nothing like what we did in class. Well, we just like to change that, and so what we do is we're going to get you to become independent and an independent learner, and so that you're actively involved in your learning. And what we're going to do is give you that base knowledge at home, and we do that through two ways. Students have the choice of either using class-provided video, or you can always use your textbook. And this is just to give you the base knowledge of what you're going to be going over in class. So that if we're talking about an acid-base titration in class, and you come to class and you don't know what an acid or a base is, you can't give me those definitions, or you don't know what a titration is, it's hard to be really active in class. And so what we do is the base knowledge and the definitions and those types of things, that you'll get those from either the book or the video, and then what you'll do is we'll come into class and we'll have the application of that, and that's where we're going to spend a lot of our time, and that's where you're going to get help from me, is that during class you're going to be getting that application of that base knowledge that you can get on your own from just reading a book. And what this will do is we'll take that knowledge and we'll apply it to very deep concepts, and it'll give us time to collaborate with our peers. Now, the main thing, what it allows us to do is expand the scope of the material, so we can get a deeper understanding of the material, and we can go into more detail, and it's not just that surface level, so that when you get to the test you're used to those deep level questions, and we get a more understanding than just the top surface level understanding. This also allows us to do hands-on labs and activities in class. So we'll learn about something, we'll go into a little bit deeper in class, and then it allows us to do more hands-on labs. We'll try to spend 2 to 3 days a week in the lab, so that we can spend time actually doing what we're learning and actually perform laboratory experiments. And it also gives us and encourages the development of collaboration and cooperation, so that you can spend time in class working with your peers in lab settings and also on projects and things in class. Now, the reason, the backing behind this, it kind of comes from this classic just pyramid of learning, and when we're looking at that active learning, that with normal lectures, the normal retention with lectures just about 5%. The reading from books, we get about 10%, and then audio visual, like the videos and that we have you watch, you get about 20%. And you kind of look at that and you go, well, 20%, it's really not that much, but it's 4 times greater than what we normally get in a lecture. And what it also allows us to do is it allows us to spend the time where you're going to get the most retention on these higher level things, where we look at demonstrations, discussions in group, practicing by doing. That would definitely be our labs. And then we kind of get not a lot of teaching others, but we get that immediate use so that we can come into class and we've learned something, and then we immediately can come in the next day and use it, and that's going to help us retain that information just a little bit better. Now, with pre-AP chemistry, we really have high expectations. It's a greater number of topics, and this is very important. It's at a deeper level. And usually we break up questions so that you can kind of get an understanding of what we expect in pre-AP chemistry. Is we took a basic question from biology, and we took it, and if you look at the developing level question, it says, describe the function of the mitochondria in the cell. In a pre-AP chemistry class or a pre-AP class, we expect this to be a very basic level question. In a regular or another type of class, it might be a little bit higher, but here that's a very basic level question. And you can see if we look at the next level, so that proficient level up here, discuss the similarities and differences in the development of the mitochondria and the chloroplast. And so it's the same concept, but it's a much deeper level. And then lastly, at the mastery level question, it says a cell has a mutation that prevents a function of mitochondria. What changes in the cell would be necessary for the cell to survive? And so the level of questioning in a pre-AP class is going to be a lot more in depth. And so we're going to spend time, what we're going to do in class is getting to that deeper level and that deeper understanding so that we can answer these types of questions. Now, we do have tutorials, and the tutorial schedule will be posted up on our website. We'll also give you a class set so that you can keep in your binder, and there'll be class posters that are posted all around the hall, the chemistry halls, that has the entire tutorial schedule for the entire chemistry department. And tutorials are a chance to go over, review, be exposed to different materials in a different way. Tutorials are not for just making up work and working on homework assignments. So we want to spend tutorial time actually going over the information. We will have times built into the day, and we will have time set aside for homework help specifically. But mainly we want to focus our tutorials on trying to be exposed to that material in different ways so that we can understand it. Grades are based off of the 70-30, so 70% tests and 30% daily work. Students do receive their 5 points added to their GPA for pre-AP chemistry, but it doesn't apply or add to points for eligibility purposes. What we see here is we'll have those two, the daily work and the test, and we have multiple different things that we put in the daily work column and multiple things that we put in the test column. Daily work, we have note checks. So we have two types of options. The two types of options we have for notes are using the provided fill-in-the-blank notes and videos. So you can do that, and that's one way to take notes. And the other way to take notes is using the provided Cornell note structure and textbook. And so you can have Cornell-style notes, and you can use your textbook and you take notes that way. So the reason why we do this, just to reach that higher level of application required for a pre-AP student, we're just wanting you to come to class with a base understanding of new concept before class. And so we're trying to get you to be active in your learning, take that independent role, and it's very similar to what you'll see when you go on to college. Similar, but not the same. Another type of daily work that we have is UT Quest. UT Quest homework is completed using the UT Quest homework system, and we'll get signed up for this and in all of our classes. This system allows students up to 7 chances to correctly answer a question. That's for a free or a fill-in-the-blank type question. For anything that's multiple choice, you get one less as the many options. So if you have 4 options in the multiple choice, you get 3 tries to get it right. Every time that we miss something, you reduce the number of points that you earn, so that you do get chances, but if you use all 7 tries, you're only going to get about 7 points instead of 10 points for each question. But this allows you to make up every single question every single time. Other daily work that we have is a notebook check. chemistry is very, very intense on labs, and we do a lot of labs, and students are required to maintain a notebook of data and analysis. And notebooks will be randomly picked up in small batches and assessed. So everyone will have the same number of notebook checks, or lab notebook checks, but I'll pick up different people's at different times. And so I'll just ask for your lab notebook, and you'll give that to me, and I'll check it on the spot. It'll be very random when I do it. It won't be pre-announced, because I expect you to keep your lab notebook up to date. Every time that we do a lab, I expect you to fill everything out, everything in there. And then when I ask for it, you should just be able to give it to me. Check it, you get your points for that 6 weeks, and I put it in the grade book. Other checks are binder checks. Chemistry is a cumulative course and requires organization as well as preparation. One way that we do this is we do this through our binders, and we'll be setting those up in class. Those binders will be randomly picked up in small batches and assessed just like your notebook check, your lab notebook check. And so we expect you to keep your binders in order up to date so that I can check them and get those put in. Test grades and quizzes. So we're looking at major grades. Quizzes for each lesson cycle. We use the scale scored method outlined earlier, the developing proficient and the mastery. Each quiz will count half of a test grade. And so what you'll see is it'll go in the test grade column, but it'll only be worth 50 points, or half of a normal test grade. We break it up into developing, proficient, and mastery, and it's scaled according to mastery is 100, proficient is 90, and developing is 60. And of course we can retake these if we don't we don't get that 70 above a 70. We can always retake to get and average the grades. The next type of major grade is a unit test. So at the conclusion of each unit, students will be assessed using the district-provided pre-AP specific assessment. And so we'll use this after each unit, and the unit test will count as one test grade. So it'll go in as 100 points into your test grade column. And then lastly, we'll have the grading term test, or the 6 weeks test. So at the conclusion of each grading term, students will be given a cumulative assessment covering all previous material, and that's really important. It's all previous material. So the first 6 weeks, it'll cover the entire first 6 weeks. The second 6 weeks, it'll cover the entire second 6 weeks and the first 6 weeks. It'll be a 2-part test, so we'll have a multiple choice and a free response section of that test. The cumulative grading terms count as, so these 6 weeks tests count as 2 test grades. Projects, informal labs, and report. We will do projects. Normally they're going to be based out of our labs. We'll do a big lab that we'll present on it. We have other projects that we'll do throughout the year, and those can be assigned periodically, and those can count as major grades as well. Now, absence policy. Students should try to keep the absences to a minimum. We always want to be in class as much as possible because we depend on class to get those deeper understanding of the information. Things that we go over in class, it's hard to get outside of class, so we want to make sure that we're here as much as possible. Students should plan on attending a tutorial session, so you should come in to try to understand that makeup, or understand the information and make up the work as soon as possible. Student absence on quiz and test day will take the quiz or test immediately upon the return. So if we come back and we missed a test, we'll come back and you'll take that test as soon as you return to class, so that we don't wait a couple weeks in between and we lose the information. We take it as soon as we get back. Redo policy on UT Quest. UT Quest is a primary practice for students, so we get a lot of practice using UT Quest. To encourage the student to practice and correct mistakes, students may redo any UT Quest assignment and receive half of their points back. A student that earned a 90 on a UT Quest may complete that assignment in the late class and make it up to a 95. And so if you didn't do the assignment at all, you can make it up, get half of your points back. So any student is available to do this. You can sit down, and if you don't like your 90 and you want a higher grade, you just redo the assignment in the late class, and we'll sign up for these in class. You'll be in your normal class, and then you'll have another class that's called the late class, and all you have to do is make it up in there, and you can get half of your points back that you missed. Retake tests. So anytime that we fail, you can retake your test. We have to submit a retest procedure sheet, and it has a couple things that we'll go over that you need to do to make sure that you're relearning the information, so that we're not just coming into the test and taking it blindly, the retest blindly. The sheet that we have can be obtained from any of the pre-AP teachers, and it goes over the process of preparing for a retest. The retest procedure must be turned in along with any assignment done in preparation for the retest. So we need to make sure that we have made up, and we don't want to have any zeros going into a retest. We can make up all the UT Quest that we missed in the UT Quest late class, and you can make that up. You can have all of that stuff done, and then you can take your retest and do well on it. Redo any other assignment. All other assignments that you need to redo will be averaged with the original grade up to a maximum of a 70, just like the grading policy. Late work policy. All late work will be scored identical to the redo policy, averaged with the original grade to make up to a maximum of a 70. And academic dishonesty. Academic dishonesty will not be tolerated. The two most common forms of academic dishonesty are, number one, discussing sharing information about the assessment material prior to completion of all tests. So it's really frustrating when I give a test in first period, and then I have kids come in throughout the day and ask me, hey, how do you do this? And they tell me the exact question from the test. So we don't want to discuss or share any of the assessment materials until everybody's completed that test. The second most common is using electronic devices during the test for any reason. So if we have our cell phones out, which we shouldn't, during a test, what we'll do is we'll put our cell phones in our backpacks and put our backpacks in the back of the room, and we'll wait until everybody's finished with the test before we get anything back out. The reason for that is if we have a cell phone out while other people are taking the test, I can't really tell if you're just playing a game or you're sitting there texting people answers that you just remembered from the test. And so we'll just keep those cell phones in our backpack and our backpacks up in front of the wall. Key websites that we need to know. We have our Skyward website that we need to have. Class websites, these are changing for 2014-15 school year, and we'll provide these as soon as they're available, ready for you to go. And that's where we'll get the majority of our information for the class, but we just need a little bit of time before those are final. UT Quest, and that's a key website, and then eBackpack, so we can put things there for you to download in case you lose a notes packet or something like that. Supplies that you need, composition notebook. You can pick those up at Walmart, Office Depot. Just make sure it can be any color, but make sure that it's a composition notebook and that it's a hardcover. And then a 2-inch binder with 12 dividers and a scientific calculator. You don't need a graphing calculator. If you have one, that's fine, but the base calculator that you need for this is just, I believe it's like $10 at Walmart. Great calculator, lasts you a long time. That's all you need for my class. It's really helpful to have your own calculator just so that you get used to using it, and so that when it comes to a test you can use it, you know where all the buttons are, and you're not searching for a button on a calculator that you're not used to. Pre-AP we know is a very challenging course, and we have very high expectations, but the whole chemistry team, we're here to help you reach those high expectations, help you reach those goals, and we just hope that we have a wonderful year. If you have any questions, you can reach me. Just email me at brian.moss@rockwellisd.org. Let's have a great year.